Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new podcast about basketball. I'm here with Sam.
Hi.
Hello, and I'm here. I'm Joe, and we're going to talk about basketball, mainly the NBA, really. But there we go. So, Sam, why are we starting a podcast today?
Well, it's the start of the new season and a new dawn in the NBA.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a big off season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't followed it, or I'm old enough to really say it for myself that it's the biggest off season in NBA history, but much older and more knowledgeable people than me have said that. So I guess
Yeah,
we'll go with that as the premise that
I
it has been
suppose.
the biggest off season.
Yeah, the logical step from that is that this is now going to be the most exciting season in NBA history. But I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's certainly got a huge amount of unknowns,
Yeah,
like a whole catalogue of question marks. Particularly in the West. I feel like the East, there's obviously the potential for upset, but the top two are pretty much locked into me. I'd be amazed if it's not those two, one of those two that comes
what you
out, even if
what
if
do you
they're
mean
not the conference finals.
the
Milwaukee
76ers?
and Philadelphia, yeah.
So what about the Celtics though? The Celtics are going to be quite good.
Yeah, but that's it. I think they'll probably be like between 3 and 5, but I don't think they're going to be quite as
Yeah,
good as those two.
I guess what the most exciting thing is, I guess, is that you do have a few teams that are like really that are obviously the top teams. Like you've got the Lakers, the Clippers, like you said, probably the Bucks and 76ers, and a lot of people put the Celtics in that group as well. And some people that have the Rockets in that group, which I guess we'll talk about that in a minute. Um, but the thing is, I guess it's more exciting is that when we get to the postseason and how those teams are actually going to perform in the postseason is like the last few years. It seems like the Warriors have just been the favourites all year. Even though the Warriors didn't actually win it last year, the fact that everyone expected them to win it and it had them as huge favourites sort of made the rest of it seem a little bit less important.
Also, they still got to the finals. It's not like they
Yeah,
got knocked out in the first round and then it was wide open. Even in the finals, there was this feeling, or I felt anyway while I was watching it, wasn't really wide open. I don't mean to, I don't want to take
yeah,
away from the Raptors title, but they didn't win because of injuries. It's not like they were properly
yeah,
toppled necessarily. Um, this is just a
yeah.
different ball game.
I,
I
I
mean,
guess the big thing is as well is that with these teams that on paper look like they have really good teams. Well, they will have really good teams. It's you don't know how it's going to work yet. Whereas with the Warriors, we'd seen them, perform at an incredibly high level for years, so you knew they could do it. Whereas I mean, the Lakers and the Clippers, for example, um, have basically got whole new rosters. Well, the Clippers haven't really got a whole new roster, but their two key players are new,
yeah.
which is pretty important in basketball. So it's sort of we don't actually know, even with these like superstars, whether the team's actually going to perform behind them or not, which
Yeah,
makes
so
it those
do you think,
teams even interesting, like at the start of the season, particularly.
yeah, because it's possible that one of these teams that we look,
Yeah.
I know which one I think is going to be that's going to fall a bit short,
Oh,
but one of
it
these
depends
teams.
which teams you're including in that group. To be honest.
No, I was going to say about the teams that really made massive moves,
Yeah.
who've added a superstar or have supposedly got better. One of them is going to be not as good as we think. At least one of them will be not as good as we think.
Yeah.
Um, just because there isn't enough room for them to all get to the conference finals. There are only going to be four conference finalists, so there's going to be at least one, maybe more, depending, like you said, on who you qualify as in that collection. Um, and that's what's really interesting. So I think the first few weeks of the season are going to be, for certain teams anyway, Because, for instance, with the Clippers is a difficult one because Paul George isn't back for a while.
Yeah.
So it's like those
Yeah, it'll be
discussions
difficult to
need to
tell. Like,
happen.
yeah,
They're going to be more around Christmas. Is probably. I think he's only going to be out a few weeks, but he's going to be into 2020 before we know what the Clippers are going to look like. Do you think should we go through? Should we look at both conferences, or maybe like go a bit team by team?
yeah. Okay. What of what like prediction sort of things? Or
Not
just like
necessarily predictions, but
going.
just a brief like preview on some of the notable
Yeah.
teams.
Okay. Yeah. Let's.
Uh,
I mean, yeah.
Pick a
As
team
you can
then.
tell, this is not incredibly planned. What, you're just going to pick random teams?
You pick a
As,
team that you want to talk about.
well, and then we have to remember which ones we've done. We're
That's not
going
going
to
to
do
be that
this
hard.
for like 30 teams, are we?
No, we won't do it for all of them. We don't have enough time for that.
No, we won't. We'll have like a minute on each one if we did that. Okay. Who do I want to talk about?
Yeah.
I want to talk about the Atlanta Hawks. Actually,
Okay.
they're good. They're going to be really, really good, even though they're really bad last year. There we go.
Yes. I think that the East is, without getting distracted from the Hawks too much, they're one of so many teams in the East. That's what I mean, is I kind of include the Celtics, and this may sound ridiculous, in the same group with like the Hawks and the Bulls.
Yeah, that does seem a bit ridiculous.
No, so there is logic
Yeah.
to this. It's basically I think the Sixers and the Bucks are way better than everyone else, and then after that, the playoff teams could be made up of almost anyone. Like the Celtics are very likely, almost certainly going to be a playoff team, but I could easily
Yeah.
see the gap between like 3 and 10 not being that big in the win column. So you end up with like the Hawks end up like creeping up to 6th or something, and the Celtics are 5th.
Yeah.
And well, how did that happen? And it's because not that the Celtics are going to probably be a lot better than the Hawks, but the Hawks, and I have the Bulls as well. I've written about the Bulls a few times in the build up to this season, and they're both really interesting because there's a lot of young talent on those two rosters. They could both be rubbish like last year. That's quite possible.
Yeah, well, I find it difficult to see the Hawks being that bad, really. I mean, obviously, it could always happen, but I'm just the fact that in the East you've had like teams basically carried by having like one good point guard, one like superstar point guard, and I think Trae Young basically is that player.
Yeah,
Like, he's going to be that player this year. Because the thing is with him is even though his whole season stats for last year didn't look that good, I mean they were pretty good. He's almost 20 points a game, but that's not quite the superstar carrying a team level maybe in the NBA. He was in this like the second half was actually that level. He was
Yeah.
he was basically an all-star level player in the second half. Where so it was 24.7 points per game.
but he's not the question mark for me. I'd
No,
say
but
because
I'm just
I
saying-
think he is going to be really good. It's Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter. The big thing.
but that's what I was going to say though is that like in the East, which I don't know if anything. I mean maybe the depth. I suppose you've got the Nets are now like going to be one of those top teams and stuff, but the depth of the East is just not that good, and it hasn't been for the last like years, like 18 years. Yeah, you have had teams that are basically carried by one star, and I mean I'd put a lot of money on Trae Young being an all-star this year. To be honest, he's one of those players that just has everything as well. He's like like Kemba Walker with the Hornets is one of those sort of players that's talking about carrying a team. But he's a lot of sort of like ISO sort of stuff, isn't he? He's almost like a budget Kyrie Irving, which I guess is what maybe won't work that well with the Celtics in that case. But he's Trae Young is basically like a brilliant playmaker and one of the best three-point shooters in the league, and can drive to the hoop. And yeah, he's just like a complete all-round point guard. I mean, that is why he has the comparison to Steph Curry. But the fact that you have him, who even if you just had him and then a load of just average players, they could still be a playoff team. But you can have combined with that all these other young players who, who knows what they're going to be at the moment, really.
But that's the problem. That's the problem, is that there's a chance that they'll all play towards the upper level of their range, but because if you've got veterans around him, if you had him and John Collins and veterans, I'd think that I'd almost be more confident in them as a playoff team. I'd just think, well, I'm always saying is Collins and Young are going to improve, and then there's Solid. There's just a risk that the supporting cast isn't there.
Yeah, I see what you mean, because they really don't have much else outside those young players, do they?
The uncertainty is massive. That's why I say, what if all of the young players play a bit better than we expect, and Trae Young's an all-star? Then it's well, they could be anywhere. Yeah.
I do like the experience they've got, though, as well. They've got some, really experienced players that I assume is sort of the idea is to be sort of mentors to the young stars. But but they're also being that old. You don't want them playing a lot of minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, like Vince Carter and what's his name? I can't remember. But where is it? Do they have a really old centre? Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got the gist.
They've got Taurean Prince still, though.
Are they?
I think so. Where's that? Am I on the wrong page? No, maybe they don't.
No, he's at the Nets. I thought he'd gone to the Nets.
Yeah. Sorry. That was a bit bad. Oh, Chandler
Parsons.
Chandler Parsons. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, he's not good, but it's just experience, isn't it? Experience. But anyway, yeah. Okay. Now you pick a team.
Right, I'm gonna go from the East again.
Okay.
I just touched on it. I'm gonna go for the Bulls.
Okay, so a similar sort of thing. Go on and argue why the Bulls are going to be more interesting. More interesting / better.
Well, Markkanen and Carter. Markkanen and Carter have the potential to be very, very good. They also have Zach LaVine, who, if he can just be passable defensively, he's another guy who could easily be an all-star. Then Thomas Satoransky and Thaddeus Young were really nice pickups. I think they're handy complementary pieces at starter, and Otto Porter gives them a bit of shooting. The roster's quite thin, and in the backcourt there isn't a huge amount of depth behind Satoransky because Chris Dunn's just not really been great, and I don't think Kobe White's going to be a massive player this year. But it was health loss, so there were issues with the coaching, wasn't there, last season? And Markkanen and Carter both missed a lot of time.
Yeah.
Is basically on the upside of those two is a lot of it, because obviously LaVine, you've just got to hope there's a bit of natural progression defensively, improving on a bit of his decision making. But Markkanen and Carter just have the makings of this modern NBA front court that's going to be great.
Yeah. Who have they even got as their point guard, though? Is that Satoransky?
Yeah, Satoransky's going to be starting at point guard. Who's just solid enough, not going to do anything reckless. The sort of player that I think is going to be quite a handy facilitator has the wrong sort of connotation, but he can shoot the ball relatively well, not turn it over a huge amount, play some bit of defense. That's all they really need. Players that are going to let the young players thrive.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, but which is sort of, I suppose you could say they've got balance if those guys perform.
Yeah. So compared to what we were saying about the Hawks, where they've got variables around their young players.
Yeah.
Around their core, the Bulls have got solid around there. They've Satoransky, Young, Porter. You know what you're going to get is not massive upside at all, but it's if the other guys really take off, then you've got reliableness.
I think along that similar line actually, but not along a similar line. I mean, but maybe sort of the opposite problem in a way. Of